right. Welcome to the second edition of the Bloop and a Blast podcast with myself, Justin Casuccio, and my co-host, Luke Scott. Luke's out in Vancouver, and Luke, I am very excited to talk baseball with you. It's been a very eventful first week in the major leagues, and what stood out to you so far, and kind of give me your breakdown of what you think.
Yeah, Justin, thanks. Thanks for having me on here. We're definitely both enjoying the first week of baseball. It was a long time coming, and now the season's in full flux. And my quick takes on what I thought the greatest storylines were. Number one being Yermin Mercedes, 8 straight hits to start the season off, and essentially taking the DH position by storm out in Chicago was wild to see. I think everyone was expecting Andrew Vaughn to lock up that DH slot there. Instead, Yermin's come in just like an absolute wrecking ball. Just really interesting story. He was signed in 2011 for $20,000, and he wasn't even picked up in the MLB Rule 5 draft. He was picked up in the minor league Rule 5 draft. So he wasn't even protected in the minor leagues, let alone the major leagues. So just a guy who's really, turned his career around. Apparently he's got a lot of attitude and might cause some trouble in the clubhouse, but I'll take the 8 for 8 to start the season. So for me, he was my number one storyline to start the year. Number 2 was the injuries. So we've seen a lot of injuries of star players, and not just star players, but just players around the league. Maybe this is something to do with, the spring training where guys are trying to ramp up really quickly. But yeah, we got injuries like Paxton, Kiermaier, Max Fried, Springer injured himself again. So for me, that was another storyline. And my last one, specifically baseball wise, was Oakland starting 0-6. That's, tough to see from any organization, but really not expected from the Athletics. So was really shocked to see them start 0-6 because they're usually just such a consistent team. What about you, Justin? What were you looking at, and what are you thinking were the best storylines so far?
Well, I think you've given me a lot to run with here. Just to touch on the A's for a second, it is very surprising. But you know what, Luke? At some point, it's going to catch up to an organization like that when, let's face it, every asset that they develop goes for greener pastures somewhere else. And when you look at just the makeup of that team, Matt Olson and Matt Chapman, you wonder when the writing's going to be on the wall for those two. Marcus Semien was kind of like the heartbeat of that team, and just him up and leaving. And it was kind of, it wasn't a secret that the organization didn't really even give him an offer. So, yeah, when something like that happens, the players don't really take kindly to it, especially because they want to feel like the team's always doing what they can to win. And unfortunately, right now, a lot of teams in Major League Baseball are just not doing everything they can to win. In terms of Yermin Mercedes, it's been interesting. I see him more as a flash in the pan type of guy. I liken him to like an Alejandro Kirk. His frame is a little bit not the most athletic. And I don't know, the bat-to-ball skills are there, but he's kind of like a cute story to me. His rookie card is exploding right now. So I don't know if you've seen prices for his rookie card, but there is a lot of snake oil salesmen out there that are, getting a good haul for a Yermin Mercedes rookie card. I think it was going for like $2,000. So yeah, those two are obviously great storylines. For me, it's Nick Castellanos. Nick Castellanos is an interesting guy. He is kind of exactly what baseball needs. He's a guy that plays with a lot of flair. He knows he's the shit. And Nolan Arenado wanted all the smoke in that little scuffle. I know people are calling it a brawl, but that was more of a scuffle to me. And for him to get 2 games on that was, to me, was the biggest story. Like, that is alarming for any baseball fan, that a guy that shows a little bit of emotion is going to get 2 games, and you've got teams cheating their ways to the World Series going relatively unscathed. And another thing that kind of pissed me off a little bit was Dusty Baker talking about how the Astros basically suffered their punishment. that is completely tone deaf. Because not one of those players had to answer the bell when it comes to, serving any time, sitting out any games. And not only that, they didn't have to give anything away. They didn't have to give their championship rings, and they didn't have to give the trophies. So if I were the Astros, that would have been the obvious thing for me to do, is just, forfeit the trophy, say, look, we messed up, and here's the trophy back. I really hope that you guys can respect us as baseball players, because we are, they're fantastic baseball players. But it just didn't sit right with me, and it didn't sit right with a lot of baseball fans, and that's why you're seeing the vitriol that you're seeing right now. So that's kind of what stood out to me, and there's more, but I mean, I'll let you touch on those points.
Thing I really understand and I feel is that the MLB does not respect people playing with emotion. I think it's supposed to be almost like golf in a way, where it's like the gentleman's sport. But at the same time, it's a competitive sport. Guys are putting their lives on the line here, in terms of they're spending their entire adult life trying to be good at something. They're trying to be a professional. And when someone else is cheating, and maybe someone shows some emotion in the game, you should be able to express yourself, or you should be able to maybe even start a bit of a scuffle here and there. I feel that baseball is the one sport where, what else can you do aside from throwing at someone, or maybe talking some trash on the diamond to equal the score a little bit? If you don't have those checks and balances in the game, how do you expect players to sort of keep a level playing field, keep things fair in a way where respect isn't just given, but it's also earned? So I feel like the Astros have to earn a lot of people's respect back. I think that Nick Castellanos has my respect, but at the same time, he's a bit of a cocky dude, so I'm not the biggest fan of him. I do like him baseball wise. I think he's like an unreal talent. I'm excited to see what he does with his career and that short porch out in Cincinnati. So always like watching him. I think, like you said, he's the type of guy that baseball needs. They need that flair. They need that excitement because they are losing a young generation who really just find baseball boring. And just a side note to that, it's something I get frustrated with. I tell, my friends, I really like baseball. I love watching baseball. And they're all like, why would you watch baseball? That's so boring. Even the last Sunday night game, 4 hours long. Angels versus White Sox. Amazing game. Don't get me wrong. Loved it. But 4 hours, like no one in our generation has the patience to sit through a 4-hour game anymore. So
you're talking to the right guy here when you're going off about this. And did you stay up for the whole 4 hours? Because I did, and I have something to say about it.
I did, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm also on the West Coast, so it wasn't too tough. It wasn't quite late for me out here. But why? What do you think? Think they're starting the games too late, or?
Okay, well, first of all, you got bottom of the ninth. Mike Trout comes to the plate. And we have this nonsense that I've been rambling on about, and it's probably getting on everyone's nerves, but Tony La Russa takes his little small strut out to the mound, slow and steady, and, just basically wasting 10, 15 minutes of my time. It's getting to be about almost 1 p.m. on the East Coast. I got to work in the morning. And that just kind of pissed me off a little bit, but what are you going to do? It is baseball. And as much as I don't like some of the things that happen and I don't like the pace of play, it's still my favorite sport to watch. And I look at a game like early in this week, Corbin Burns versus Jose Berrios. And that was so much fun to watch for just a hardcore baseball fan. Like, a lot of people might look at that and say, well, what do you find fun about that? There was hardly any balls put in play. But both of those guys were dealing, and you love to see it. I mean, you love to see it for a number of reasons. First of all, Jose Berrios, you want him to just take that next step and take that leap. And so far in his career, he hasn't been able to do that. And it's just good to see, those good things finally happen for really talented guys like that. So I know what you're saying. I mean, there's a lot of stigma still around baseball, just from, it's not as good as basketball. It's not as entertaining as football. I think it really is. And it's time that it's marketed as one of the elite sports, because it truly is just a joy to watch.
Yeah. I mean, you're preaching to the choir here. Definitely agree with you, but it's hard to get other people to see it that same way. I feel the not just the flair and the excitement, but sort of like the general love for baseball is slowly sort of bleeding out these days. So it is discouraging. I think people who play baseball love it. It's one of those games that if you understand the intricacies of it, you're going to love the game. But if you don't, if as a casual observer, you don't really know what the heck is going on. Like you don't understand or appreciate what's going on at the 2-2 count, why the catcher is giving the sign, why he's lining up on a certain part, where they're shifting the players in the outfield and the infield. All those little things add up to make it like the perfect game, really, So I mean, I don't know. I think that we're a bit biased in that regard, but I think marketing wise, especially, could be done better, cutting down on the game time they're trying to do. One thing that I noticed with MLB, actually there was two. The first being that the changes with the balls actually ended up really promoting the three true outcomes, where even though the ball right now has been adjusted to, so they say, eliminate just home runs, the bounciness. So it's actually become more, I guess, the ability for when the ball hits the bat, it comes off with more exit velocity. They put drag on the ball, but even with the drag that they put on, the amount of exit velocity that the balls are leaving the bat right now is just promoting actually more home runs. So there's a really great article written up about it. I had a quick read through. Really fascinating to think. I mean, it's a small sample size, but they looked at the balls that were being used in spring training, and they used two different balls. They couldn't tell which ball it was, but the ones they started using at the end of spring training, which logically you'd think would be the balls they're using this year, flew farther and were hit harder with a higher exit velocity and resulted in more home runs. So it seems that it's almost being promoted. The MLB is saying one thing, but meanwhile, the balls that they're putting out there right now are pushing the other. So don't know if you've noticed a lot of that yourself.
I have, and I think that obviously, being that it's April right now, and such a small sample size, we're not really going to get to see the true extent of the dead in baseball. And I don't think it's dead at all. I think, in fact, like you said, it's carrying at higher velocities, and it's just been, I don't know, I haven't noticed a difference at all. But once we get into July and August, into those dog days, that's going to be more apparent whether or not there's any change. But I think a lot of was made out of nothing. I think that it's just kind of baseball as usual. And Nate Lowe certainly doesn't have a problem with the new baseball. Did you see the 465 he took dead center into the fountains at Kauffman Stadium?
I did. I also watched the two that he had against the Jays when they beat them 7-4. That was not what you expect from Nate Lowe, but good on him. He's getting the at-bats. He's getting an opportunity to contribute. And I think, what does he have, like 13, 14 RBIs, something like that right now? He's up there.
I think he has 13, 14 RBIs. Yeah, I should know. He's on my team. And I picked him late in the draft. I think that this, it's not often that you see Tampa Bay's scouting department really drop the ball. But that's exactly what happened here. And I think if they kept that right side of the infield with the same last name, different pronunciation, they would be looking a lot different right now. Because they essentially chose G-Man Choi over Nate Lowe. And look, Nate Lowe, it's not like he's a secret. Everybody kind of was looking at him to be the first baseman of the future in Tampa. And that was really surprising to me that they just chose not to promote him, give him any at-bats. Even, Yandy Diaz was getting a first base plate appearances before he was. So just a great pickup by Texas, but really surprising from the Rays standpoint.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the Rays doing so much with developing their own talent, just to let one get away like that on them. Definitely seems that they made the wrong decision there. Who knows? Maybe G-Man will go off and he'll be the He-Man later in the season. He'll be smacking bombs just as much as Nate is right now, but. Well, it will be seen. I think they've lost on a great talent as well. So definitely surprising from the Rays, who do such a good job of retaining cheap talent when they can. The last thing I want to touch on quickly here on this portion is the MLB moving the All-Star game. So that was actually in response to the Election Integrity Act passed in Georgia. And as I understand it, it's a new way that Georgia has imposed new voter identification requirements for absentee ballots. And state officials are like now more empowered to take over local elections and basically limit the use of ballot drop boxes. And I've also passed this really weird law where they are making it illegal to give voters in line food or water. So the MLB's decided, no, Georgia, no, Atlanta, we're not going to bring our All-Star game there. We're going to take it somewhere else. So I find this interesting, where we're sort of starting to see for the first time the intersection of sports and politics. We saw it in the NBA with the Black Lives Matter movement happening earlier. So just wanted to hear your take on this decision by the MLB and how really you feel towards athletes and, organizations, sports professional franchises taking a stance politically.
I think it's great. I'll be honest with you. I'm not that familiar with the new law that was passed in Georgia, but I'm definitely for anything that promotes fair voting process, due process. And it's funny. The one thing that I will comment on is a lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, you moved that out of Atlanta. It's only right that you put it in Milwaukee at that weird new American Family Field that they decided to change Miller Park from for whatever reason." That was another tangent I could go off on. And I was just thinking, Henry Aaron, one of the greatest baseball players, if not the greatest baseball player of all time, God rest his soul, just passed. And a lot of the death letters, the death threats that he received in his time in Milwaukee, the most segregated city in America, doesn't really, to me, scream, let's go from one weird situation to put it into another. Especially, you look at Atlanta, Milwaukee, two cities that really never showed him the love that he deserved. And you saw it in the document. If you ever seen any documentaries on Hank Aaron, he played with relatively no joy towards the end of his home run chase. So I'm kind of glad that they just put it in a random place like Coors Field, because first of all, it's going to be a really, really entertaining All-Star weekend. I don't know about you, but I'm rocking right now the Colorado Rockies All-Star Game 1998 T-shirt that I got at I don't know, Winners or some random store. But when we went to Coors Field, Luke, there's two things I remember. And this is interesting, actually, because the 3 or 4 ballparks I've been to with you, one of them was in Atlanta at the old Turner Field, and the other one was, or one of the other 4 was Coors Field. And this also blends into part of the weekly recap that we're doing, because Trevor Bauer was on the mound in his Dodgers debut at Coors Field just last week. And he was dazzling, took a no-no into the 7th. And then the whole cat incident happened. The cat ran on the field. He was on the base pass for probably 45 minutes. And he was trying to play it off like, oh, the altitude doesn't affect me. That was the one thing I noticed being in Denver, was that long walk from the hotel to the stadium. I was just gassed. And it's just different there. So the 7th inning came around. He got tattooed for a couple big flies. And so he's just trying to be professional and say it didn't matter. But Coors Field's a different animal. And I got Madison Bumgarner starting there tonight, so I'm going to keep a close eye on that.
Well, you're a braver man than I for starting Madison Bumgarner in Coors Field, especially after his last outing. I love Mad Bum, been a big fan of him for a long time. I might be a little scared of starting him this year, especially at Coors Field. But yeah, the memories of being there, Coors Field, beautiful ballpark, the air at Coors Field, I can see how the ball can travel the way it does. I would definitely go back in a heartbeat. I'm glad that it's going to be able to have a home run derby in Coors Field. I'm excited to see how far they can smash these balls out of the park there.
It's going to be stupid.
It's going to be 500-foot home runs, maybe not, but I'd love to see it. It would be or will be a great time. So happy with the decision. Definitely looking forward to the All-Star game. And I just love watching games like Coors Field. If I can throw on a game on MLB TV or whatever, and I see that the Rockies are playing at home, I don't know. I just like watching. It's exciting baseball. There's always a run scored. You never know what's going to happen. The fact that, as you mentioned, Bauer took a no into the seventh at Coors is ridiculous, especially with Kershaw before. I think he got knocked around. I don't know the exact numbers on him, but did not have a good start. And then turn around and Bauer just is lights out. The altitude does get to you for sure. But great place, Colorado. Honestly, if I was a major league player, I think I'd love to play there. Maybe if not, if I was a pitcher. But
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And just to back up on that point, Mad Bum right now in the just finished the fifth inning, 8 hits, 5 earned runs, and 2 walks. So that's a 9 ERA and a 2 WHIP. So probably not the greatest decision, but I want to run my guys out there early in the season and see what they can give me. I believe in Mad Bum. I think he's got a track record. You got to trust the back of their baseball card sometimes. That's what I think. And I think that's a great segue into the gas station segment, which we received rave reviews on from the 3 or 4 people who are diehard fans of the Bloop and a Blast podcast now. So, Luke, who are your picks here for the gas station of the week?
So for the gas station premium grade, I actually just want to talk about a pitching matchup. I think was the best pitching matchup on opening day, and that was Glasnow versus Alcantara. Both these guys were just hucking the ball, man. Like it was a sight to see. What I was impressed and why I want to list Glasnow on my premium grade this week, even though I know last week you were kind of off him due to his only ability to throw 2 pitches consistently, was that, he was mixing in a slider. He was mixing in a third pitch. He was moving the ball around the zone, and he looked much improved compared to the Glasnow that we've known in the past. Had a really good whiff rate as well on that pitch, and I believe he actually used it more than his changeup. So I was really impressed by him. I was initially not convinced that he should be taken in drafts as early as he was going, but now I'm really bullish on Glasnow. I'm that, even though it was one start, maybe he doesn't control that third offering very consistently, but I'm pretty sold on him after watching that, and Alcantara as well. Just another, great competitor. And I think he's going to be their ace. Sixto has a little bit more time before he's back up with the team, but I think Alcantara will still be their ace. I think he just has a lot going on for him right now. What about you?
It's crazy how quickly I changed my stance on a guy. Like, he throws one dancing slider after another, and I'm just sitting there like, well, I look like an idiot. I mean, I did make some really good picks last week on the debut podcast with Corbin Burns and who else? Just a few other guys, but for the most part, it was good picks. But I think Tyler Glasnow really showed me that I should just shut up. So anyways, with that, I'll let you get into your mid-grade pitcher.
All right. Yeah. My mid-grade pitcher. You mentioned Greinke last week. I honestly would love to throw him in again here as well, but I'm not going to, as you already touched on why he should probably be a premium grade pitcher. As for mid-grade, were a couple really surprising starts. I'm going to go with the guy that I drafted. I guess obviously a little bit biased there, but was really impressed. And he had another start today at Yankee Stadium, and didn't make it through 5 just because his pitch count got up there, but didn't really give up a lot of hard contact, and that's John Means. He went deep against the Red Sox, really limited their bats on a team that hits lefties really, really well. And I honestly was scared to start him. And I was thinking about it, like, should I put him on the bench? Very glad I didn't, because he really threw a great game there and picked up a quality start and a win. He's my mid-grade. I'm not sure if you disagree with me on that. The hype for him was big to start the year, but
no, John means business, and he really showed up on opening, or was it opening day that he got the start? I think it was, because that was the first game of the season I turned on, and I was like, I'm watching a Baltimore Orioles game, and just loving every second of it. I like John Means. Similar to Jordan Montgomery, kind of lefty that came out of nowhere and just hucked, as you said, on not opening day. Jordan Montgomery is probably the best 5th starter in the league, though. If we can just go there for a second, let's give him some love. So Jordan Montgomery, I know it was against the Orioles, but I know I was talking to you about it before the season. Joe Girardi was on the bandwagon. And who's your gas can?
Yeah, so I have a couple options here for gas can. There were a couple ugly starts this week. At first, I was going to say Luis Castillo, not because I think he's a gas can, just because I was very surprised because I was high on him to start the year, and he got really knocked around in his first start. But he had a really good outing today, so I won't be going with him. I'm going to go with Dallas Keuchel. I used to like him a lot for fantasy purposes. I just don't see the upside for him there. He's pitching on the White Sox, so he's got a good team behind him, but he is pitching in a hitter's park. This could be the year that we really start to see him decline. So if I was in a pretty shallow league, I probably would be avoiding starting him till I see a bit of a bounce back. He has, a 7 ERA right now. Over 9 innings, he has given up 10 hits, 7 earned runs, 1 home run, and he's also walked 5 guys, which for me is kind of concerning. His his walk to K ratio right now is 5.7, so he's 5 walks to 7 strikeouts. Not great for a guy who really was getting drafted really high, I think because of the team he was playing on, as well as his brand name. He's been around for a while, but I think he's on the decline, and I am nervous to start Dallas Keuchel.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for your takes there at the gas station, and don't forget to get yourself a little snack at the vending machine or whatever the hell you're going to get inside. My premium starter this week is Zach Wheeler. And it's interesting that this guy continues to get better with every year that he pitches in the major leagues. I think he was a top 10 pick by the Baltimore Orioles. I think that was in the Mike Trout draft 2009. Was that 2009? That's crazy when you say things on the podcast and you always want to be right with your facts because someone might just be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Zach Wheeler just has electric stuff. And I think he's a premium arm. I think that he can anchor that Phillies rotation this season, along with Aaron Nola, obviously. And that's a really formidable staff. The rotation is obviously the question there. And Jose Alvarado is the only lefty in that bullpen, which is concerning. But I think when you got 2 horses like that at the top, everything else kind of falls in line. So I'm looking for big things out of Zach Wheeler. Obviously, he's just swinging strike rate and strikeout rates were off the charts. And I'm going to be betting on the Phillies a lot this season when Zach Wheeler's on the mound. In terms of a mid-grade pitcher, I don't know how, as a Jays fan, I could go against saying Steven Matz. Steven Matz followed up his impressive spring into that start in Arlington. And what wasn't there to like? I mean, he didn't walk. I don't think he walked anybody. 6 1/3 of just really, really good, great command. The pitches, the assortment of pitches were mixed very, very well. He was keeping them off their toes. Now, Texas isn't the Yankees, and I'm glad that he kind of got to start off against weaker competition. But Steven Matz was excellent, and I actually do think he's going to have a great season. I mean, a lot of people were talking about this guy. I mean, what's wrong with him? He's got good stuff. He just looks like a good pitcher, and worst pitcher in baseball, up there with Corbin Burns in 2020. Corbin Burns was just as bad in 2019. But I really am encouraged from what I see from Steven Matz, and I think that his improved velocity, I think he had 96 or 97 on the gun. I was really impressed by that too. And then my gas can, I'm staying with the Jays with the gas can, and I'm going to pick on Tanner Roark because why not, right? That was just so frustrating on so many levels. And I'm going to take it into the field too, because before I even get into why I think Tanner Roark is a proverbial gas can every year, I mean, he's had an average career, I'll give him that, but he is trending in the wrong direction. Every single time he pitches the ball, it's like 7 or 8 inches off the black. Like, he's not even close with his misses. He doesn't have any velocity anymore. I think he topped out at 91. And he just doesn't look like a pitcher. He looks like a men's league pitcher, to be honest. Obviously Bo and Cavan didn't help him in the field. And if I can just touch on that left side of the infield for a second, my biggest hot take of the show is that Marcus Semion's going to be playing third base by June, because Kevin Biggio, I think he's just suited for second base. I also think Bo Bichette is suited for second base, but I'll allow him to stay at short this season. Because I think the left side of the infield is just so important, and the hot corner is just a crazy position. Like, Kevin's doing a good job. He's doing a fine job, but it's a tough position, and you've got to have monsters over there. You've got to have like an Arenado Story type of situation like they had in Colorado there, to really feel like, and you've got elite gloves over there, and the ball just, like you said, it's stinging off the bat right now, and that's going to create for a really tough scenario here when they're giving Vladdy these weird throws from the left side of the diamond. And so I do think Semion's going to have to move over there. I think it's just a matter of time. But I just spent the majority of my gas station segment talking about position players and Jays, and I'm happy about it. So, that concludes the gas station for this week. Luke, I'm going to let you take this wherever you need to. And I think we have another new segment called Around the Horn. And I guess we should kind of explain this segment a little bit. So like Luke said, we're going to go around the diamond a little bit. When the strikeout is thrown, the catcher throws it down to third. So I'm going to let you be the third baseman and give your pick there. And you can throw it to me at second.
Let's look at, number one, Jonathan India. Believe he has 10 RBIs batting right now with the Reds. He seems like an exciting player, running out questionable doubles. He's trying to leg everything out in the field, showing that he can play well defensively. So I think he's a pretty promising prospect, and I think he's here to stay, just given that they moved Suarez to short, who, I mean, not my part of the segment, but he's looked terrible at short this year. Yeah, he's looked pretty bad. But I think India's here to stay, and he looks like a solid hold for right now. So yeah, he's my third baseman. And then sort of a guy who I've been surprised, who seems to be getting off to a hot start and really sort of just doesn't seem to age, is Evan Longoria. What's going on out in San Fran? I don't know, man. This guy he's just not getting older. His face looks the same. He's swinging the same. He's never going to retire. I don't know. So,
well, he's the ageless wonder. And I think what's happening in San Francisco is it's somehow turned into a hitter's park there at Oracle Park. It was always the wind was always kind of blowing in from the Bay, and anyone not named Barry Bonds kind of struggled to barrel anything up there. So it's kind of weird to see that shift into more of a hitter's park. But they also do have great hitters. Yastrzemski, Alex Dickerson's nice, and Donovan Solano's making a lot of contact. So they got some good players there. If you're going to throw it down to second base, I'm going to take Whit Merrifield. And I think that playing in Kansas City just suits him perfectly. Because they have huge gaps at that park, and he's just a doubles machine. So Whit Merrifield is just kind of an unsung hero, because this guy, he's a pillar of health, a pillar of consistency, and Whit Merrifield is someone that should probably be given a little more love, and so let's do it on this podcast. And so with that, I'm going to throw it over to Short. And who's your shortstop?
Well, someone who right now is swinging the bat really well and hasn't seen it rewarded to this point in home runs or a lot of power numbers is Corey Seeger. I think he's seeing the ball just really well. His timing's on to start the season. So, those power numbers and those counting stats they're going to come, especially batting in a Dodgers lineup, which is just ready to explode at any given moment. So he's looking great to start the year. And someone who I actually was down on to start the year, but I'm liking now after watching sort of how they're approaching the plate right now is Tommy Edmond. He has the job of kind of a utility man in terms of he can play multiple positions, but I think he is making a home for himself with just being a reliable bat in the lineup, having good at-bats, battling in there, pitching in. He has a stolen base as well. already. So, speed's really hard to find. I like him. I think he's just a very well-rounded player, and I've been impressed with his approach so far. From short, I'm going to throw it over to first now to you, and want to hear what you have for your first baseman.
So this is a bit of a surprise, and honestly, as a lifetime first baseman in men's leagues and et cetera, first basemen are just kind of neglected when they're throwing the ball around the infield. So it's good to get the ball finally and give it to the pitcher, which we already covered in our gas station. So we're going to leave the pitcher out of this. My first baseman is Eric Hosmer, and I'm going to give a shout out to our good buddy Alex, because before draft season, he was all in on Eric Hosmer. And he was talking about, he's able to lift the ball a little better than he has in past seasons. For me, I thought Hosmer kind of maxed out in Kansas City. I didn't really think he could take that next level, and I still think he will kind of level out eventually. But I think you mentioned it too, like hitting cleanup for the Padres is always going to be an RBI situation, and hopefully Tatis is able to get back soon to get him those RBIs. They've got plenty around him. They've got Manny Machado's obviously a durable guy. I really like Ha-Seong Kim. I think he had 30 home runs in the KBO last year and 109 RBIs with 23 steals. So those kind of skills don't always necessarily translate from the KBO or Japan to the big leagues, but it's going to be fascinating to follow him now with a little more playing time, and Jurickson Profar and Mateo, and they just got some good pieces there. So Eric Hosmer has done some big things, and I want to give him a shout out. So now we're going to go to 7, which is left field. Luke, who do you like at 7?
Yeah, at 7, really surprised with the start of the season so far for David Dahl. Brian Reynolds has also looked really good. And lastly, Justin Upton. Really haven't been big on Upton in past years, but he just looks different at the plate. He looks comfortable. His timing's on. I think this is the year that, the Angels do some damage, especially looking at how Athletics are struggling. They could win the wild card. So I'm liking those 3 guys. I just want to cheer for David Dahl because he's always seems to be hurt. So, really talented guy, always injured. You want him to do well. So hopefully he can figure it out in Texas. And Brian Reynolds batting in a pretty bad lineup right now, but still always a threat to get on every single time he comes up to bat. So those are my 3 left fielders I've been impressed with. So I'll toss it to the center fielder for you, Justin.
Yeah, and before I get to center field, I just want to agree with that point, because I think David Dahl, he's such a talented guy, and I think he has gotten some tough breaks. So good call with David Dahl. In center field, I like what I'm seeing from Cedric Mullins of the Baltimore Orioles. And I've kind of been looking at him on the waiver wires for a couple of years now. He's a really speedy guy, just really good with the glove. And I think he had 47 extra base hits, with like 10 of them being doubles in his, I think it was with the Bowie Bay Sox, is that their minor league affiliate. So, I just really think Cedric Mullins is a solid piece for a bad team, which means he's going to get his ABs, and that's kind of all you expect from a guy. I think he's 12 for 23 so far? I think he is, and that's just, he's getting his walks too. His on-base percentage is just out of this world, and so big shout-outs to Cedric Mullins. He's finally putting it all together. And in the 9th slot, I'll let you round it out. And I think I know who you're going to pick here, because it would definitely be someone that's top of mind for me. But who do you like in right field so far?
Cool. I actually just want to add to center field 2 guys who've been surprising and really good, Michael Taylor and Akil Baddoo. Michael Taylor looked great in spring training and has carried that through. So I just wanted to highlight. And also Akil Baddoo looks like an exciting player for Detroit, and they're going to play him. He's young, and they don't really have anything else to do other than develop their young guys right now. So liking those 2 guys in center. For right field, we touched on it already. Nick Castellanos just is raking. Awesome talent. So it goes without saying. Will Myers as well looks really good in that Padres lineup. I think it's going to be tight this year between the Padres and the Dodgers. It's going to come down to injuries. I think the Dodgers still win the division, but I'm liking pretty much any Padre bat you can get your hands on at this point. And then Adam Eaton leading off for the White Sox, just scrappy guy. Love his approach at the plate. It's kind of similar to how I used to play baseball. Like, just get me on. I do not care how I get on. You hit me with the pitch. I'll take a walk. I'll foul off a couple pitches, 9 pitch at pat and hit a blooper in a right. I do not care. I just want to get on first base. And I love when I watch
Derek Dietrich approach.
Yeah, I love when I watch guys do the same. So I really like watching Adam Eaton.
So it did take us a long, long time to get into the Akil Baddoo talk, but I'm glad we got there eventually, because he's a real 5 guy who those guys are always kind of coming out of nowhere. And 22 years old, he basically skipped the minor leagues, which I don't think I've ever heard of anyone skipping the minor leagues. He played in Class A ball in 2019. And then 2020, he was just at the alternate site. So really cool to see a guy just kind of go right up to the big leagues and just kind of rake. His swing does look eerily similar to Barry Bonds on the Pirates, with his stature before it kind of got a little bit, how should we say this, with Barry Bonds, he just looked a little bit, out of this world big. I don't know, like, what's the synonym I'm looking for here, Larry?
He was putting a little bit too much Wheaties in his cereal or something. I don't know. Too much spinach in his salad. Who knows? But yeah, before he got
spinach in the salad, we'll go with the spinach in the salad.
Okay, there you go.
So yeah, Akil Baddoo is really impressive, and I think he's going to do good things. I hope he's not a flash in the pan. I was going to use my waiver claim on him the other day, but I just decided I want to see a little more. I do think that, skipping those minor league levels, AA, AAA, that's where you kind of learn how to handle velocity, I think. And with velocity being as high as it's ever been these days, I think there's going to be a quick learning curve. So, that was around the horn. I think that's going to be a segment that we'll use a little bit here and there.
So let's get into our final segment here. Actually, do you want to talk about some trash or stash? Just a little, talking point on guys who we either think are trash or maybe are willing to hold on to.
Yeah, for sure. And this is definitely one of my favorite segment ideas that we've come up with here, where the trash players are. I mean, these are all going to be fringe players. You can maybe get them on the waiver wire, or maybe they're the last guy off your bench. And I just think we're going to go through a few players here, and you're going to tell me if they're trash. You're going to put them out for the garbage collection tomorrow morning at the curb, or if you're going to stash them, maybe stash them in the garage, see if they come around, and maybe find a diamond in the rough here and there. So I'll let you start, and I'm going to give you a name here, and it's Nomar Mazara from the Detroit Tigers. Do you like Nomar Mazara? And do you think, and just before you answer this, I will just say quickly on Mazara, very strange career. I think he had 100 RBIs in one of his first few seasons and then just tailed off ever since then. So what do you think of Nomar Mazara?
I think he's a talented bat, but being in the Detroit lineup where his job security is quite low, where being essentially benched or let go for another option is part of his outcomes, I wouldn't stash him. I don't think he's worth the roster spot, even in deep leagues right now, unless he gets hot. So just because his positional security is just not the highest, his path to at-bats could change at any point. Strange guy. I used to, love him, to be honest. I would always shoot for him in drafts, but just his situation he's in right now, he's sort of backed himself into a corner with a new organization. So until he kind of cements himself as a go-to guy there, not even necessarily go-to, but just like a regular everyday guy with, security of having a spell of, going 0 for 20 maybe without getting put on the bench or getting replaced, I'm not going to stash him. What about you?
Fair enough. I just ditched him today, so he's a trash guy for me too. And just a weird, like I said, weird career. He's trended down really hard, and he's 25 or 26 now, and yeah, I'll pass on Nomar Mazara. Who do you got in mind?
So for myself here, I have Miguel Sano. Want to know if you think he is trash or stash, but in a shallower league, not a deep league, but just a shallow league that maybe you have some other better options on the wire.
I will stash Miguel Sano. Just from the exit velocity he's shown in the last couple of years, I think he's in the 98th percentile, which he doesn't make a lot of contacts, so it is sparingly. But Miguel Sano is, and he's a talented guy with, really bad knee issues. He's similar to Franmil Reyes and Jordan Alvarez that way. Just two big hulking guys, or three hulking guys that just need to figure out a way to kind of keep that big upper half, healthy. Just the knees are just going on those guys. So, I'll stash him for now, for sure. I don't have too much of an opinion on Miguel Sano. I'm not that interested in him. I think that he's kind of we've all been talking about him as this power machine, and I'm not crazy about him. But let me just think about who I'm going to give for you. How about a guy like Colin Moran from the Pittsburgh Pirates? Do you think that he's worth anything in let's say a league like we're in, getting on base, doing the dirty work in fantasy?
Yeah, on a 12-team league with a roster of 33 plus 4 IL, I believe he is worthy of a spot, but just barely. I had him on my team last year. If he was in a better lineup, I think that he's definitely going to produce. I think that he's figured out his swing a bit. He's hitting for a bit more power now. I think he already has 2 home runs this year. So I do like his profile. I just avoid the Pirates.
Same
lineup. I don't know, but maybe that's me being too snobby and not liking Pirates on my team. But I usually just go for offenses that I see producing, because a high tide lifts all boats, and the boats that the Pirates are sailing right now, they're sinking. So I'm out on pretty much all Pirates except for him. Obviously Brian Hayes and Brian Reynolds as well.
Yeah, the Pirates are walking the plank straight into the Allegheny River there. Yeah. I'll give you one more here. Mm-hmm. Before that, actually, I just wanted to make one mention before I forget about RPMs and spin rate, because a lot's been made of the bans of the sticky substances and all that. So I just want you to tell me if you've ever heard of any of these guys that I'm about to tell you, because this is your top 5 RPMs, rotations per minute, in the major leagues right now. Caleb Berreger, Brian Shaw, Sam Howard, Tony Watson, and Michael Felice. Those are your top 5 spin rate RPMs.
I don't know who any of those dudes are, to be honest. I just couldn't tell you.
So small sample size, but I just thought that was worth mentioning. So just give me one more trash or stash, and I think we'll wrap up with the standings.
Okay. Let's do for trash or stash. Let's do. Let's look at Keston Hiura. And again, shallow league, but he's been awful to start the year, and has never lived up to the expectation. I believe he's going to figure it out, but how long are you willing to hold on to him to see if you're in a shallow league to figure it out and just stop striking out almost 50% of the time?
Well, one thing with Keston here that you have to remember is he has shown incredible pop so far in his career. So I think he has 32 home runs in his first 162 games, which is, you got to take the good with the bad when it comes to Keston Hiura. And right now there's a lot more bad than good. I'll grant you that. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't select him in the 8th or 9th round there, which I was, kind of keying in on him. Keston here is definitely a stash. I think that the kids, and I'm wearing his hat right now with the MB Glove Brewers hat. I think that Keston here has got some potential, and you're just going to have to live with those whiffs and the swinging strikes that they catch up to him quickly, and the velocity. I just wanted to mention, velocity this year is up with everyone. And in an era where, a Dylan Cease is just throwing 99, it's still guys like Dylan Bundy who, just 93, 94, and they can locate. So those are the guys that I'm, still think win out. I think that this velocity craze will eventually subside, and we'll go back to guys just kind of trying to locate their pitches more than just throwing it by guys. So everything kind of has their peaks and valleys, and I think when this velocity craze does end, guys are going to make more contact, and we're going to see more balls in play. So hopefully that'll help Keston Hiura, and hopefully that'll just help him, regain the form that he had in the minors, because I think he was a pretty good batsman in the minors and just didn't really pick up those strikeouts until he got to that next level in the bigs. One more thing I wanted to say before we wrap up here, and I'm just going to end on this. Gary Sanchez is going to be traded from the New York Yankees after what I saw on opening day. I like Kyle Higashioka, who has, he has better defensive skills. He's developed a good rapport with Garrett Cole, obviously. And I just think that when the Yankees look at themselves in the mirror, they're going to see Chicago White Sox down the line, for example, and they're going to just picture in October a scenario where you're going to need that pass ball to be blocked. And for me, Gary Sanchez just isn't going to cut it. I don't care if he has 20, 30 home run power. From what I've seen, he's really just has terrible plate discipline, and he just doesn't get it done on the other side of the dish. So for me, that's one of my hot takes that I wanted to end with. Gary Sanchez will be traded, and it's probably going to be a stupid team taking him on, like the Pirates or the Rockies. So with that, I think this has been good. It's been a good second episode, and it's been a blast. Luke, I'll let you end it on whatever note you'd like to.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for getting this all set up. I really like the new segments. Going to keep bringing some new ones out as we go. We had Around the Horn. Then we also had the Trash or Stash segment. So let us know what segments you're liking. Let us know if you think we should change the approach on some of them and maybe just sort of refine. And we'd be down to make those adjustments. Really just want to facilitate as much conversation. And we'd also love to hear your opinions. So in the YouTube channel here, drop your questions, drop any sort of takes that you have. Even if you have a controversial opinion, one that goes against what we were talking about, you think that we're idiots, you think that, Justin doesn't make any sense.
We're definitely idiots, Luke.
But feel free to drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening. And as Justin says, it's been a bloop and a blast.
It has. And thanks everyone for listening. And thanks for the feedback from our opening day episode. Because I think, it was really great to hear from everybody. The support was great. And I really like what we have going here, Luke. So with that, it's been a bloop and a blast. And have a good night, everybody.
Feel free to drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear
from you. Luke. So that was episode 2.